Take a breath. You're here. This is the Her Perspective, a space for real conversation and becoming in real time. Welcome to the Her Perspective, a podcast for people becoming in real time. I'm your host, V, and today, let's just take a moment for us. There's a kind of loneliness that shows up when you're growing. It isn't dramatic. It is not always sad. It's quieter. It feels like a space you didn't ask for but somehow needed it. If you've been in a season where your circle feels smaller, your voice feels softer, and you're spending more time with yourself than anyone else, you're not alone. This conversation is for anyone who's becoming but feels like they're doing it by themselves. Here's something I've learned: becoming often feels lonely before it feels aligned. We really don't talk about that enough, about that in between, the shift, the days when your phone is dry, your mind is full, and your heart is just trying to catch up. Sometimes loneliness isn't a punishment, it's really preparation. It's God clearing your environment so He can speak to you without interruption. There is a big difference between being alone and being lonely. Being alone is more of a physical thing. It's space, it's solitude. But loneliness is an emotion. It's the feeling unseen. It's when you support and you didn't really expect it to show up. It's when relationships shift and you're left sitting with the truth. And as uncomfortable as that can be, those are the real moments that really stretch us. Lately, I've been doing this thing of trying to invite more stillness into my life, more quiet, more reflections, more listening for God's voice. And here is something about stillness: when life finally gets quiet, the enemy often tries to get louder. Right in the middle of that peace, old fears try to resurface, old emotions, old memories of feeling unseen, almost like a distraction, trying to pull me back into a version of myself that God has already healed. And I'll be very honest, for a moment, it made me feel heavy, not because the fear was true, but because it was revealing something important. The enemy only attacks what God is elevating. If loneliness is starting to stir, it's often because confidence is being restored. If fear is trying to rise, it is usually because security is being built. If your thoughts feel cloudy, it's often because God is clearing your path. And in that moment, I had to remind myself that I'm on a path God created for my life. He knows my future, He knows where I'm going, and that's exactly why I'm being distracted. And this season or this moment, loneliness wasn't the truth, it was the attack. Alignment was the truth. Growth was the truth. God's hand on my life was the truth. And once I named that, the sadness lifted, the fear loosened, and I realized something so clearly. It wasn't lonely, I was being positioned. When God is working on you, He often removes noise, He adjusts relationships, He shifts your desires, He reveals patterns you no longer meant or want to repeat. Sometimes He invites you into your own company so you can meet the next version of yourself. That version of you doesn't show up in a crowd and it can't be rushed. Sometimes elevation requires separation. Navigating loneliness with grace looks very different for everyone, but here's a few things that helped me during this process. I learned to allow stillness, not fight it. I stayed connected with God, even through short, honest prayers. I created gentle routines like journaling and walking. I stopped forcing connections. The people meant for this season don't need convincing. And I started paying attention to who I was becoming, not what I felt was missing. Loneliness often reveals strength and not lack. So, if you're in a lonely season right now, don't assume something is wrong. Sometimes God is isolating you to strengthen the parts of you that people kept overlooking. Sometimes you're not lonely, you really are becoming. And today's affirmation is simple: I'm not alone. I'm being aligned. This season of the podcast will continue to host spaces like this: honest, gentle, grounded conversations that meet you where you are and remind you that you are not behind. You are becoming. Thank you for spending this moment with me. May your becoming stay strong, honest, soft, and right on time for your heart and your life. Until next time.